the desert, blowing up the sunshine. Kneeling roses disappearing into Moses' dry mouth, breaking into Portnox, stealing our intentions. Anchor sitting dripped in oil, crying freedom. And the two of solution, still you feed us lies from the tablecloth. La 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 la. Everybody's going to the party, have a real good time. Dancing in the desert, blowing up the sunshine.
Everybody's going to the party, have a real good time. Dancing in the desert, blowing up the sunshine. Blast off! It's party time! And we don't live in a fascist nation! Blast off! It's party time! And where the fuck are you? Where the fuck are you? Where the fuck are you? Why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? Why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? Why do they always send the poor? Why do they always send the poor? Why do they always send the poor?
Healing roses disappearing into Moses' dry mouth, breaking into Portnox, stealing our intentions. Anchor sitting dripped in oil, crying freedom. And the two of salvation, still you feed us lies from the tablecloth. La 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 la. Everybody's going to the party, have a real good time. Dancing in the desert, blowing up the sunshine.
Everybody's going to the party, have a real good time. Dancing in the desert, blowing up the sun. Where the fuck are you? Where the fuck are you?
Why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? Why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor? 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 They always send the poor. They always send the poor.
What if I wanted to break? Laugh it all off.